Sato Matsagamaya Tammaso Majutigamaya Miritorma Amritam Gamaya Tasmei Sri Guruve Namaha. Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. Amen. May the Lord lead us from the unreal into the real, and may the Lord lead us from darkness unto the light. May the Lord, out of his infinite mercy and grace, lead us from death unto immortality. May the light of the divine teachings by which all of this is accomplished in the form of the Guru principle be made available to us. Peace, peace, peace.
I've been through enough to know that when it's all over, I'll still be standing. I don't care what you're going through today. That's all you need to ask God to do for you. I don't care what the doctor says. All you need is just one. You just need God to touch you. I know I'm not much. Oh, thank you, Jesus. Sometimes I feel so unworthy. I'll never be very much. Oh, thank you, Jesus. Until the hands of Jesus come and reach out and touch me. You see, I looked at my hands. I want you to know my hands look new. Yes, it did. I looked down at my feet. And they did too. And just a few days ago, I was lost in despair. I needed a touch from the Lord. I looked all around me. Oh, thank you, Jesus.
Touch me.
But no hope for me. Could be found. And here's what I done. I've been praying. I've been praying. I've been praying. I've been praying. I'm praying. Oh, I've been praying, yes I have.
maybe today we can make a little effort to get a little closer.
So if you keep the way it's going to be straight.
My original thought was just to come here and listen to music all day, but I thought that might bore you. So there's a kind of spirituality that can't be taught with words, language, and so forth. Ultimately, spirituality is something that you catch, you see. It is a matter of the heart. Music speaks to the heart. Words just bounce off your brain, your mind. Usually in one ear and out the other. But there's something about music and poetry, you see, that has been a last resort that most of history's great realizers have resorted to help us to understand what cannot be understood through mere formal discourses and lectures, etc., etc. The mind can't get closer. Only the heart can find God, not your mind. So, what would you rascals like to consider? Yes, but
Thank you, Master. You sort of stole some of my thunder because spirituality. I find myself running into, encountering quite a few problems, but I was approaching it in a different manner. I thought it was hard in man, but situation that I have is virtually all of the so-called major religions, including some traditions. They all have their own way to the spirituality of God, And so that's why I always say I'm a little bit of everything. That's normal. So, they're intriguing, extremely so. Coming from one who don't know, but I'm trying. So I'm still in the search for the true God. Most of the literature I run across is they limit it to, Europe, Rome and all that. But I happen to know a little more of research that it goes beyond that. Most of them got it from. So I would just say, thank you.
Well, every religion is fundamentally a point of view. And those differences are due to culture, time, etc., etc. But fundamentally, the goal of almost every religion is the same. Union. You see? Now, you may have called this union different things and different traditions. You may call it salvation. You may call it moksha. You see, kinsu, sunto. I mean, there are many different terms based on the people, language differences, etc. But all religion, like yoga, you see, are purpose to union with the divine. You see, So they have that in common, you see. The differences, again, are just kind of superficial, you see. But if you are searching for which one has the best dogma, each will claim to have the best dogma. Each will claim to be the sole source of this search for union, you see. The Unio Mystica. But if you are searching with your heart, it's different from searching with your mind. When you search with your mind, your intellect, you're bound to get confused, paralyzed. You won't be able to make a decision because you're searching with the wrong instrument. The search, the seeking has to come from the heart. Are you with me?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
And then if it's coming from the heart, and then if you are truly able to apply yourself to those instructions that informs the practice, then you arrive. There have been Christians who have achieved the union. There have been Buddhists that have achieved the union, Jews, Jains, Muslims, you see, philosophers, physicists. That is not the issue. That is not the problem, you see. The problem is your heart is not in it. Your head is in it. You see, you're searching for information, not transformation. You see? You're searching for a kind of knowledge that'll give you more status. It's an ego thing. Are you with me? Maybe you write your own scripture one day, that kind of shit. You see? That has nothing to do with it. It's heart. The heart has to be in it. Yes. The search has to be fueled by love for the divine. You see? Love for God. You see? You're trying to union with God because that's what you love. You see? Now, the intellect can serve a secondary function. It can help you find different ways to get there, but it's the love and devotion that is driving you. And this is very often difficult because our egos are afraid of love, even in the worldly senses. The ego does not trust the heart. It trusts this so-called thinking. You can't think yourself there. Rumi says that only the heart can touch the sky. Thinking won't get you there. So, nothing wrong with the seeking per se. Don't misunderstand me. You see, it's like anything else. You know, you decide you want to be a married man and you seek, right? And then when you find the right one, you know that it's the heart that finds your mate. You see, if you find your mate with your head, well, you're probably gonna be in trouble. You know, a lot of trouble. A mind-made relationship is not equal to a heartfelt relationship. Follow me, son?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
So put your heart in it. Put your heart in it. And the rest happens. The way is the way of the heart. And if you look at the founders of these religions, that's what you see. You know. They were men and women who put their heart into it. When your heart is involved, all of you get involved. When your heart is not involved, then it's a pastime, a hobby. You see, it's not what you are living to accomplish with your life. It's a pastime. Something else to say about it?
Just wanted to say, maybe, perhaps, and I believe you right on point. In fact, I sort of know it, but it's just, I'm looking for physical proof in my subconscious. Instead of, this one of the criticism, now I'm beginning to criticize myself in that area too, because I'm told that it's not, you're not going to necessarily find a physical proof of physical God, but then all around me.
Well,
So,
you are proof that there is God. Yourself. See, reminds me of a story about a Seeger who went to a Sufi mystic, and he asked the Murshid, he says, I hear that there are things called miracles, Can you show me some miracles, tell me about miracles and so forth and so on? And the Murshid looked at his dog and said, look at this fool, here's a miracle, asking about miracles. You are a miracle, don't you think?
Yes.
You're the miracle, yourself. All of this is miracle. The problem is that you're blind and you don't see what is perfectly obvious. Your next breath is a miracle. Your ability to see, touch, taste, smell, feel, it's a miracle. Don't you think? Your very existence, it's a miracle. You are the only miracle you need to find. Hence all of our African sages, Egyptian sages, sages in every great tradition, they say the first research is to know yourself. You're looking for physical proof, right? Look at your body, proof. If you can't see that which is so close, how can you see that which is spiraling away in a whole different galaxy? See, you waste your whole lifetime trying to figure it all out. You're not going to figure this out. It is amindra. It is mystica. You will not figure this out. How will your little puny intellect figure this out? You see? That's what love does. Love gives you the ability to trust. Faith, trust. That there is that. Now figure it out. You see? Overthinking. Know thyself. That's enough knowledge. Tehuti, you see? Thoth, as the ancient Egyptians called them. Those who went to Egypt with us, do you all remember that? Thoth. In his Hermetica, as the Greeks called it, you see, talk about certain things, principles, right? One of the principles talks about is as above, so below. You don't have to enroll at some great university to understand astrophysics, because as above, so below. You are the cosmos too. Are you following me?
Yes, sir.
Know thyself,
Yeah.
and all else will be added unto you. Don't know yourself, and you'll go on reading, searching intellectually for the rest of your life, and you will never understand. In fact, you'll become more stupid, more confused, more full of doubt, frozen. Understand, son?
Oh, yeah. I'm beginning to see. I assume, the body, these things that I'm looking elsewhere. Like you said, Master, the truth is right here. And I just assume, I just took it for granted all these years. But I'm beginning to come around. It's this very good screen and enlightening, just hearing you Because even some of your work
Mm.
cannot answer questions right then,
Mhm.
the live person.
Mhm.
Yes, sir, and I really appreciate that.
Yeah, there's nothing wrong with the intellect. When the intellect is really developed, it knows what it can and what it cannot know. That's a developed intellect.
Yes, sir.
It understands what it cannot understand. You see, Wittgenstein, a German philosopher, says, "Do not try to know that which you cannot know." You see, the intellect has to get developed for those who have that tendency, and some have a tendency to be more intellectual, more analytical than others. That's true. See, all right. Sharpen it. Get it with you. And this sharpening of the intellect is what we call Afrkia, clear thinking. See, a lot of times your thinking fails to yield the revelation of its own limitation because you don't know how to think clearly. And you'll see that in math. Sometimes higher math is very difficult for people because it requires a certain precision and capacity to think clearly, you see, directly, focused, and so forth and so on. Most of us, what we call thinking is usually not thinking. You see. So it's sort of like that. But it's okay, you're in the right place. There's a whole bunch of us in here that has done that, you see. Nothing wrong with it. Doesn't make you a lesser person or anything. Maharaji used to always remind us when you make an application for initiation, Maharaji tradition was more like, okay, depending on the individual, but in general, to make you go wait, you know, wait, take 6 months, take a year or something, you know, satisfy your intellect. You see, it's first order of business, you know, to clear away your doubts, to clear away your confusion, you see. Because confusion is a symptom of lack of understanding. So confusion is, you see, doubt, you see. They all go together. You see, intellect has not been satisfied. Now there's some people who are anti-intellectual, they say, oh, those intellectuals, you know, I'm a bhakti. But you still have an intellect.
Yes.
Just, you understand? So you're full of emotions, but you're stupid. You follow what I'm saying? Right? You can't dismiss it. And those who are hyper-intellectualists, they're all intellectual, blah, 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 but they got a heart. Okay, so you're smart, but you're depressed. You see? Doesn't work. It's holistic. You have to use all of you. Makes sense? What else you rascals would like to consider? Yes, beloved.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. Good morning. I have been traveling like the spiritual path, or I feel like I have been traveling the spiritual path. And you always get to these doors, and you always go to these spiritual schools or whatnot, but they always end up, for me, being a disappointment.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm trying to find a way how to deal with my disappointment, because it seems like it's solid, but as soon as you blow on it, it just disappears. And but you spend your time doing it and going through all the exercises, and it's something, it just leaves you with a self of nothingness. It's like, okay, you get disappointed.
Yes, yes. And that's very often the experience. You see, that's called window shopping. You're going shopping like a mall. You know, a little bit of Buddhism, a little bit of Islam, a little bit of Hinduism, a little bit of New Age, a little bit of Gnosticism, etc. You know, you're shopping. Follow me? And you have expectations. Fundamentally, the problem begins with your expectations. You see, you're expecting something from the kinds of places that they're not even purpose to give you. You see? Normally what we're looking for, beloved, is egoic gratification. You're looking for something that's going to make your life hunky-dory and you live happily ever after. Mystics don't deal with that. You see? You're looking for something that lines up with how you see things. And again, you have arrogated to yourself the wisdom of a Buddha. Are you with me?
Yes, sir.
And if it doesn't line up, you out. So you're looking for intellectual validation rather than coming, understanding that I don't know. You see? And the traditions, that's called humility, didn't I? You see? You come knowing that you don't know. Are you with me? As opposed to comparing what the Buddha is saying to what you think. And if what the Buddha says does not line up with what you think, you're out. You follow me? So it begins there. Now it grows from there, you see? It can also be just your karma, just the way you have to go. You know what I mean? That is also a factor, you see. So it's many different things, you see. There's no one answer I can give you other than you're seeking. It's really interesting that you said that. It was just mentioned that Buddha. You see, Buddha went to 6 different teachers and did not get what he was seeking. You follow me? This is very often typical. Keep seeking. Keep seeking. You see? Keep seeking. That way you see, beloved, you'll have more gratitude when you find it. Right? That's all. Stand. Be true to yourself. Be true. And when you find it, you see, then do all of what is necessary. But there is no McDonald kind of spirituality. It's a lifetime. And most of us, quite frankly, beloved, when we come to a path, we really don't know. You see, it says, okay, you do some meditation, blah, blah, blah. We all, geeked up and enthusiastic. And we have figured that, well, okay, I'll get initiation, give me a mantra, and 3 months I should be enlightened. Wrong expectation. You know what I mean? It's not a 3-month thing. It's not a 3-year thing. It may be multiple lifetime thing. You with me?
Yes, sir.
And therein lies the discouragement. You see? It can be very often like what happens with Arjuna on the battlefield of Kurukshetra. You see, the spiritual life may be requiring you to give up the very thing that makes your present egoic life worth it, and you just can't, make that sacrifice either. So you say, oh, man, sometimes, you see. Faith is another requirement. Shraddha, faith, trust. You see, very often you see the jumping into the spiritual dimension of life is like jumping into the unknown. It's unknown. You see, you're trying to know the unknown. You see, and since you can't know the unknown, there's fear. Faith is the ability to jump into the unknown. Very few people come packaged with that. It develops perhaps over time, you see. But faith, and as Brother Man was saying, and if you look at all the religions, all of those various spiritual traditions, you see, high and low, faith, trust, the capacity to trust, courage, you see, a kind of fearlessness there, you see, because you really don't know. You really don't. You see, you really don't know. cannot know by reading books, listening to talks, blah, blah, blah. That's all hearsay. You see. It's not direct knowledge, you see. You can only know when it becomes your personal experience. Then you know, you with me? And then all of that is over with. But to get to the you gotta follow some processes, right? And that becomes difficult because I don't know. This cloud of unknowing, as the Christian mystics call it, keeps you from. But that's a very honest assessment. You see. I'm sure others here have had the same experiences, so you're not an anomaly. You know what I mean? There's no shame in that. You see. One of the mystics says, got to be a little gambler. You got to bet it all on God. You don't know. You don't know what's going to happen. But you know one thing, I can't go on living like this, you see? You see? At some point, you see, you realize, I don't know what's there, but I know what's going to happen here. If I keep living my life the way I've been living my life, according to the dictates of my mind, this is going to be disaster. No fulfillment, no happiness, pointlessness, meaninglessness. You follow me?
Yes, sir.
And it becomes a life not worth living, you see. And you're like that person in the Twin Towers when the plane hit. You know what I mean? That's a 110-story fall, but I gotta get out of here. You see? You don't know. You really don't know. You really don't know. And one of the Buddhist masters said that if you did know what the spiritual path was going to do for you, you wouldn't touch it with a 10-foot pole. Because we think coming to a spiritual path is the ultimate or final way by which we can make our life egoic, you see. So we do the meditation from an egoic disposition, you see. We do it as egos. And everything the ego does is doing it for the sake of the ego, you see. So I do my meditation that'll make my egoic life happy, you see. And that's not what happens. That's not what happens. In Bhagavad Gita, Lord Krishna said that to those whom I love, you see, worthy of becoming my devotee, I send them sickness, disrespect, poverty. See, sometimes, beloved, you have to suffer more. You have to suffer more. Has to be some urgency. Hair on fire. Swarma Krishna Maharaj called it, you see. Hair on fire. Gotta have it. Like a fish needs water, or a drowning man needs air. Gotta have it. You see? Intensity. Mumchaba. Bitter. You see? True.
Yes, sir.
Thirsty man in the desert, he's gonna drink some muddy water. You understand what I'm saying? He won't be quibbling anymore. You follow what I'm saying?
Yes,
Gotta have it. Heart. Heart. So my advice is the same, go with your heart, you know? See where it takes you. Glad you're here. So what's your name, beloved?
My name's Alvin. Alvin.
Albert, okay, very good, welcome.
Thank you, sir.
Something else to say about all of this stuff?
Excuse me, brothers and sisters, I don't mean to dominate anything.
It's all right.
But I just have one other question, because I'm told from some of the mystic people along, preachers, whatnot, religious people, that when the Creator of God called me, I would know it. So how would I know that I'm on the physical,
Yeah.
spiritual path? Thank you.
Well, the first thing is that everybody has a kind of reminder from God that you got to get it with this thing, make right use of your life, do something with your life. You see, and it is in the form of just how life is. You see, that gray hair, right? The dwindling eyesight. That's God telling you, son, you're running out of this. You're running out of time. How do you know when you found the right wife? You felt love, you felt fulfilled.
Oh,
Yeah. I hope you found it. That'd be a real bad example. How would you know? You see, you will know. It's called direct knowledge. Nobody has to tell you. You know it. It's like when you wake in the morning, nobody has to call you and say, oh man, you woke now. You know you woke. Right? It's like that. You see, this is when words begin to fill us, you know, because we're looking for some kind of a syllogistic process, some kind of rational process to verify love. You can't verify love through a rational process. You feel it? You don't have to calculate the velocity of a breeze. You feel the breeze. Nobody has to tell you. You see, direct perception, direct experience, right? You see, you asked, how will you know when you have found the right path? You will know. You will know. Because then you can't live without it. Like you found your beloved and then you found, man, I can't live without this one. Or I can't live without this one. You see, I don't like necessarily to resort to worldly examples, but they're just metaphors that most can all understand. But this kind of finding of the right path, you see, finding the right relationship with God. Because you're talking about a relationship, aren't you? How do you know that you are path is the path that brought you into a right relationship with God, right? Basically, true? You feel it? It's heartfelt. Recognition, you see, love at first sight, you see. So if the Gospels, if the Sermon on the Mount, you see, stands your hair on edge, that's right for you. You see, if the Buddha, you see, turning that wheel of Dharma, if that just, you know what I mean? That's right. So you search. Even if it takes you the rest of your lifetime, you see, and the next lifetime, and the lifetime after that. In fact, you've been searching for uncountable lifetimes already. You see, keep searching. Find it. You see. But then you got to give up something when you find it. What is that reggae song? Now that you found love, what you gonna do with it, boo? What you Because it will be something required of you.
Yeah.
In the Bible, there's a story, right?
Yeah.
Got to find the right relationship with God and say, okay, put your son on this thing and kill him. Are you willing to do that? For the sake of your beloved God? Look, if I be said, go love your enemy, are you willing to do that? For the love of God.
Yeah.
Say you love God, right? If where there's love, there's the desire to please that which you love. Right?
True. As long as I know it's the right God.
I understand.
Pastor, you got people saying God told me to do it. So I don't, but I will.
True. You do have people like that. That's the God you invent with your mind. Oh, you're in trouble, son. There's not many gods. There's not many lives. There's one life manifesting itself in an infinite variety of forms. One life. Life is in you, same life here. You see, same life there, same life here. Same life, one life. You see. Well, you see, it's like it's like you have to understand, you see, that when you say loving God, that's not different from loving all sentient beings. You can't say I love God and you don't love me, you don't love the person sitting behind you. Because everything is God. You see, the Hindu said, Nasavam Vidyate, nothing that exists is not different from God. Everything is God. Are you with me? Okay. So you're not just loving this concept of God and not loving God for real. Right? This is confusion. You see? You will love ye one another, says Jesus. That's how you know this is my disciple. Can't say I love Jesus and you hate everybody. Come on. Even your enemy you have to love. Jesus teaches this radical. Why? Because the enemy is also a manifestation of God. You see? Love. You understand? So this is always the result of just reading, thinking, blah, blah, blah. You create imagination, fantasies, and all of that. You follow what I'm saying? Or you're not even understanding what you read. You see? Even in the traditions, if you go to a Swami and you're going to study this Upanishad, you're taught that Upanishad. Reading it on your own, you won't understand anything. It's a circular motion, right? See, you pick up the book, you're ignorant, you're reading out of a state of ignorance. Are you with me? And what you take away is just your own ignorance. You have not understood this particular Upanishad. You have not understood this gospel. You follow what I'm saying? You interpret it through a mind that is full of ignorance. Hence it is taught. You see? Ptah Hotep said, no man, no woman is born wise. Hence the need for a teacher. Someone had to teach you how to tie your shoe, how to put your pants on, how to eat with utensils. You had to be taught all of that. But now you're going to teach yourself how to be in life. Look at the absurdity. It's absurd. It's arrogance. It's ego. You follow me? It's delusion. And that is the advantage of having teachers. You see, worldly or otherwise. They rescue us, protect us from our own self-delusion. You follow me? You want to pick up a book on quantum mechanics or read Einstein paper on general relativity, and you don't know shit about physics, but you will interpret and you'll come away with a wrong understanding. Are you with me?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
You'll say, I read it, but you have not understood anything. You see? We call it Buddha disease. Yeah. The guru disease. You want to be a guru. You see? Most men, when they come to a spiritual path, they want to be a guru. Which one of us is going to succeed Jesus? You know, which one of us is the greatest among? I mean, this is male ego. Understand what I'm saying? Not understanding. Not understanding. You see? The fundamental. Motive. You see? Fundamental. So you got to look at your motive. You got to always look at your personal motive for pursuing spiritual life or following a spiritual path. What's your motive? You have to look at that too, son. What's your motive? What are you really up to? You got to find out what you're up to. You follow what I'm saying? A seeker went to a great teacher, did their research, came to the teacher, wanted validation or wanted to be given the final highest knowledge, you know, available to human consciousness, you know, the ultimate thing. The master told him, fine, you know, good, no problem. I see you're a serious person. Let's have a little tea before we enter into this great sobat. Because this may be a conversation that'll take all night and all the next day. Because you hurt me. Have a little tea. Right? So tea was boiling. Give him his cup and start pouring. And pouring. And pouring. And pouring. And this wise seeker, I said, no. Master, what's wrong? You have eye problems? Don't just eat the cup. You can't put any more in here, man, you know. And the master said, no, rushing the story is told much better. Ask Bilal to tell you the story the right way. I'm cutting through the point. The master said, well, right, that's how you are. Your head is so full of what you think you have that is called knowledge. I can't put no knowledge in you. Your head is full. You already think you know that which in reality you do not know. You see? And that's all of us. It's not just, pertaining to my response to you. You see, it's all of us. You see? Head full of it. Humility is and in most cases, when you crack that head open, you find, oh shit, he ain't never had no knowledge in his head. He was pretending that he was knowledgeable. He didn't know anything. He was pretending. It's an act. It's an ego act. You see? And you put all this time, energy, and attention into trying to convince people that you are this spiritual person that in reality you are not. And if you just take that same time, energy, and attention and really apply it to a process and become that spiritual person, that's a better use of your time and energy, don't you think?
Yes, sir. Yes.
So it's not enough to be able to quote a few scriptures here and there and pretend, you see? Go look in his life. You see? Set your life in the palm of your hand and look at it. Who have you really loved? What have you really done? Where is your generosity? Are you with me? Look and see, do you have any spiritual qualities in the first place before you arrogate to yourself, I'm a spiritual person, I'm a spiritual seeker. Go look and see. Feeling what I'm saying?
Yes, sir.
You delude yourself. Go look and see. How much kindness are you capable of outside of your immediate family? Where's your compassion? Yeah. You hate all white people. How compassionate can you be? Are you understanding what I'm saying?
Oh, yes, sir. That ain't me.
Wrong done.
You love them all. Yes, indeed.
Okay.
Bro, you love all the white women. But that's a whole different
All human kind.
That's all human kind. Yes, yes. So it's sort of like that. I'm having fun with you here.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So, and it's all right. But I think everybody's getting the point here, right? We're all struggling souls here. Trying to make it. Something else you rascals would like to consider?
Just one more question.
Yes, beloved, have your way, have your way.
It's probably another question, you probably answered it already. But when you're seeking the spiritual path, what's the way to keep focus where you don't hinder yourself or lose the way, so you won't get distraction by delusion? So how do one does that?
Well, you see, one has to remain sincere. There must be sincerity there. And if you are sincere in the pursuit of your spiritual goal, your spiritual quest, if it's sincere, if it's genuine, right? That will keep you from falling into pitfalls and distractions. You see? And you sincere, right? Even if you happen to fall under the spell of a false teacher, if you're sincere, your sincerity will rescue you. But it has to be sincerity, genuine sincerity. Maharaj used to say that you could have a storm as a guru. If you're sincere, you become enlightened. Actually, you see, the real key is the seeker. It's the disciple. It's the devotee. If you're sincere, because if you're not sincere, you can't even make use of a guru or teacher. That's first thing, right? Because if you're not sincere, if you're not committed, if you're not for real, right, you'll be given instructions. You can slip through the back door, but you're not going to follow anything. You're going to edit out all of the disciplines that don't fit in with your comfort zone. Are you with me? Because you're not sincere, right? So, everybody that cries, Lord, Lord, is not saved. Because everybody don't have sincerity. Are you with me? Many are called, many are given the opportunity, but they don't have the sincerity to be served and taken and benefited from it. Are you with me? So ultimately, it's us, our own individual level of integrity and sincerity and genuineness and hell-bent. Are you with me? Willing to pay whatever price needs to be paid. A teacher can't teach a person that don't want to learn. They can make recommendations that say, go study this, go study that, but you're not going to go study anything because I don't like reading all that stuff.
Or watching the video.
You know what I mean?
Yes.
Go spend some time in silence and solitude. Go do your retreat, go get away. No. I'm busy every weekend. You understand what I'm saying?
Yes.
They're going to edit it. They're going to reduce the path to fit in with their own egoic comfort zone. Now they'll say, I got a guru, but you ain't got no guru. You try to guru yourself. Fundamentally. In fact, the majority of us that come onto a spiritual path and say I have this guru, that guru, blah, 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 have no guru. In reality, they guru themselves. The guru say, okay, you do this every day, blah, 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 for this amount of time, and then you decide, I ain't getting up at no 3 o'clock. Shit, I need my sleep. You understand what I'm saying?
Yes.
You understand what I'm saying?
Yes, sir.
You get nothing. It's like that. It's like that. So you have a New Age meeting, you go out to California, everybody's got a guru. The status. You know, my guru is so-and-so, so-and-so. You see, like everybody got a BMW. All I'm saying.
Yes, sir.
The buck stops with us. It's like that. Sort of like that. Maharaj used to say that the grace of God, the grace of Guru is like a pouring rain, right? And we're like a cup that is face down and catches under the grace. The turning face down cup is our ego. Are you with me?
Yes.
We're following our own so-called wisdom. But just look at your life. See where your so-called wisdom has led you. miserable, half crazy, right? Strung out, right? Alone, isolated, and nobody loves you. You don't love nobody. I mean, look at it, suffering. So it's us, right? Be sincere. Be for real. You see? That's the key. And then the universe will send you. It says, when the cheddar is ready, the guru appears. It's about us being ready. And you will get a guru that is consistent with your level of sincerity, right? If you're not sincere, okay, then Bishop Reverend C.T. Chicken Wing is good enough. You know what I mean? You don't need to be coming to places like this, you know? Just go to church. Because that will fit with your level of sincerity. Are you with me?
Yes, sir.
Make sense?
Yes, sir.
It's like that. But if you're looking for your Buddha, you're looking for a Jesus, we're looking for that kind of spiritual help, right? Of that level, then we got to bring something. Just how it is. Now, how many can do that? How many will do that? Very few. Very few. That kind of disciple is more rare than a Buddha. There's many Buddhas. You know what I mean? Many enlightened people. They're all over the place, so to speak. A disciple of that quality, very, very rare. Very rare. I remember an occasion in the theater and sitting in a room like this, and my guru was sitting and answering questions and so forth. And one of the questions was, they said, well, Maharaji, you know, you've been around this all your life, and you've been, you know, doing this for years and years. You got all these big initiates, right? Over 1 million. How many of them, how many real disciples have you met in your lifetime? All right, lost. So have I. And we sitting there, I call, hope you call my name. I said, yeah, you see, he said, in the course of my lifetime, in my work, spiritual work, I have met 1.5. 1.5. You see? And they asked, 1.5. I said, yes, 1.5. He said, well, who was the one? And who was the half? He said the one was Sadaba Harduji, who was the disciple of my guru. And he said, well, what about you? You're the guru. I said, yeah, I'm a half. My discipleship was nothing compared to Sadaba Harduji. There's a story told about Sadaba Harduji, you see. And this is a little bit more meaningful for those who know a little bit of the history of the Sun tradition called Radha Swami Math and so forth. Maybe I could fill you in later and something about that so you could really appreciate it. But I've already said that Sadar Maharaji was the disciple of the great master, we call it, Baba Sawat Singh Ji, right? And he became his successor, in fact. And Sadar Maharaji, you see, did seva, you see, for Baba Sawat Singh. You see, he was like his go-to person, right? Completely dedicated, you see. Was a college professor, you see, but when not there teaching, he would be right there in the community, serving the master, you see. Whatever his needs are, I'm here to take a load off, because you got all these people, you see my point? And somebody got to look out for you. True? And so the great master had become older and his eyesight is going, and so Sadar Maharaji would come and dictate the letters and do any clerical things that was required. Back in those days, so you couldn't send an email, you had to actually sit down, and a big envelope and put it in the mail to send the answer to the disciple that was contacting you. And Sadar Maharaji very often served in that capacity for the great master, right? And as usual, you see, when you have that many disciples, great master, although he didn't have as many as Maharaji, he had thousands and thousands of disciples. And they would always come seeking his counsel, you see, about this or that, you know, challenges they're having in their life, and they will be lined up and so forth and so on. And the great master very often will be there at his office late into the evening, you see, taking care of this and taking care of that, and doing what he was committed to do for the sake of his disciples, you see. That's sort of like a mother-child relationship. Got to make sure the kids eat, got to make sure they're healthy, got to make sure that they this, etc. And knowing that Sadar Maharaji would stay, but he would know by the time Great Master get through serving the Sangha, he will be exhausted, right? And Sadar Maharaji, you see, would be there to assist him or drive him home or whatever the Great Master would need. So it was a particularly long night that night, you see, lots of people, you see, so forth and so on. And then there was one person came in, wanted to talk to the Great Master, and it was really personal, you know what I mean? So the Great Master told Sadar Maharaji, you go outside. I'll call you when I need you. So that the person would have some privacy to tell their stories and so forth and so on. Well, you know, when you get old, you forget, right? So apparently even gurus are not spared that. And so he got caught up in what he was doing, and then he finished and he left, you see? And had one of his grandsons had came, you see, unexpectedly. He said, okay, you get good, take me home. He took him home. So later that night, they're all sitting around in their homes, which was outside of the dairy, right? And having dinner, right? And they're sitting there, they're having dinner, Great Master having dinner with his family. You see, they're talking and so forth and so on, you see. And all of a sudden, the Great Master, you know, stopped eating, dropped everything, you see. And they said, you know, Maharaj, what's wrong? He said, I forgot to call Sadar Maharaji. And he said, and he said, he's still standing out there. And they said, okay, well, Great Master, you just relax. My master said, I'll go back and get Sadar Maharaji, right? And pick him up and take him home or whatever. But you know, you had a long day, rest. You see? We almost never have a chance to have family dinners anymore. You're so busy and we hardly ever see you. And Great Master rejected that. He said, I'm not sending you. And he said, what's wrong? I got a car. I go. And Great Master, he's not going to do what you tell him.
All right.
He's not coming unless Sure enough, almost midnight, Sadar Bahadurji is standing outside on the back. That's a disciple. Don't you think?
Yes, Lord.
That's a disciple. Now that's can be our model, so to speak. We may not ever reach that level, but at least we will not be throwing around this word so loosely here. I'm a follower of this particular guru or that guru. I'm a disciple. I'm dedicated. All bullshit. Pure bullshit. You have a fantasy about what it means to be a disciple, and I understand it because you ain't never seen a real disciple. How would you know? See, you're looking at each other. This ain't no gold standard of discipleship. Yeah. And that half disciple, who was my guru, 40 plus years, sacrifice, wore his body out, laid down, pulled the cover over, said, I can't do no more sacrifice. You understand?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
You want to be a disciple of some teacher, right? All right, good. Be qualified, get some character, get something. Or go across the street. They got a church right across the street. You understand?
Yes, sir.
You understand, beloved?
Yes, sir.
You understand?
Oh, yes, sir.
Reading these books ain't gonna make you no disciple. You ain't even gonna come close to it. You haven't come close to it. They have kept you from even making the next step. They've created the illusion that you know guru yourself and enlighten yourself, and that's all bullshit. That ain't gonna happen. I hate to be the bearer of bad news. Hope you don't hold that against me, right? But I think you come here hoping that I'll be honest with you. You see, that's our deal, right?
Right.
Doesn't happen.
Great insight.
You see, you can't do guru work if you can't do discipleship. How you gonna do guru stuff? You follow me? It's a disease, an ego disease. You can't do no room. You can't do Ravi Vasu. You can't do Sahaj Yoga. Can't do it. Those are real devotees. Yeah. We're not there. So that was the advantage then, that Bilal and myself and Rajaveda and Rani Kamari had. We're in the company. And we saw what we were trying to become, and still trying to become. Gold standard. Real deal. Not wannabes. Not double-minded. Who do it, use their time, energy, and attention to do that which really makes them a devotee. Unlike us, we use all our time, energy, and attention to pretend that we are devotee. Amen. Well, don't blame me. They started it. They're too Something else to say about it? Yes, beloved.
So, I do not want to be a guru. But at the same time, I really don't want to bullshit myself in thinking that I'm on a path when I'm not, as you so eloquently put. But, so the question is, how do you know? I mean, really, really know. I leave here most Sundays feeling good. Don't come, but you have a way of like popping that bubble and letting the air out. But I don't want to delude myself into thinking I'm on and doing what I think I should be doing and not getting there. So how
Do you know?
Yes.
You know. You will know. Seriously, you will begin to see that you have fewer and fewer thoughts and concerns about yourself. That kind of mental and emotional and even physical preoccupation with yourself begins to diminish slowly and slowly. It's like the ego begins to melt away slowly. So, you see, as it diminishes more and more and more, next, this feeling of being a separate entity will begin to diminish. The feeling of being separate from others and independent of the rest of the cosmos. That begins to diminish. You see. What begins to happen is that this identification with the ego self begins to diminish. And with the diminishment of that misidentification, beloved, the feeling of being separate begins to diminish. The ego is the result of misidentification. You see? That feeling of being separate from and different from, you see, begins to diminish. And you start beginning to slowly feel your oneness. That's how you know. You see? And you will know, right? Even on the lowest level, there will be less anger in you. Those things that you used to knock people out about. You know, you're not into that. You ain't going back and forth with people no more. You see, you're not wasting all of that. Are you with me? It starts settling. And you start loving your sadhana. Sadhana doesn't become a chore anymore. It doesn't become it don't even feel like a discipline. It feels more like an opportunity, you see? So your whole attitude and relationship with your practice diminishes, you see? You begin to like doing kind things for other people. That start bringing you joy, not no longer getting on your nerve. Here they come again. I just gave them $10 yesterday. You follow me? There's a transformation, literally, you see? So there's many other facets of that transformation, you see? But those are certainly some of them, you see? It means that, you're becoming more human. You see, You're beginning to develop those characteristics and qualities of a human being. More of your divinity is beginning to emerge and become manifest, right? You're becoming more godlike, you see, more forgiving, you see, more tolerant, more patient, you see. Even the pretending begins to change. You see, instead of pretending to be all of this in a bag of chips, you're pretending to be nobody. You see, you hide your so-called spirituality. You follow me? It is secretive. You follow what I'm saying? You're practicing being nobody, special at all, rather than practicing, gee whiz, look at me, look how special I am. All that begins to disappear. You become more surrendered. Follow me? Your inner reactions to the flow of life and all of this duality begins to diminish. You're more calm, more serenity, less upset. You know how to flow now with this Tao, with this samsara, with this duality. You're no longer so much full of what we call should. You're not full of should anymore. It should be like this. It should be like that. This person should be like this. This situation shouldn't be like this. You know, the shoulding all over begins to reduce. You accept the reality of the duality that is the play here, the Leela as we call it. You're no longer trying to manipulate and control yourself. Sort of like that. Not exactly like that, but you get in the sense, beloved? All those qualities and things that you have seen from your study of the Dhamma and the poetry that you've read and etc., it begins to happen inside of you. And you feel it, you experience it, you know. And more importantly, others in relationship with you begin to experience it, because that's the definite sign that you are not merely operating out of delusion. People around you will suddenly start responding to that. You see, if you think you got all that and other people are scared to death of you, can't stand to be around you, then you know that you are 100% deluded. You follow me? They're not relaxed, they're on their eggshell, they're scared, because they don't know what kind of shit you're going to do when you're going to go off. You're deluded. You see my point? You ain't that. Are you with me?
Yes, sir.
There's no Buddha field around you. There's no energy field. They used to say that the Buddha, you see, the gray elephant, you see, the world honored one, said that when he would move across the land with his Sangha, he said that the Buddha would radiate a field of compassion 24 miles in circumference. And as that Buddha field moved across the plain, dead flowers would spring and blossom.
Yes, sir.
What happened to people that get in your field?
They gonna be
They get scared, they get nervous, right? True? Right? They get quiet, they don't want to say nothing to you. Get you started. Right. You become good company. You become elemental. You become like sunlight, sunshine, a breeze. You follow me? Very good. You will know. You already becoming, beloved. You see? Already. So those small changes you see. And your beloved and your sons and so forth. Yeah, that's encouraging. You know you're moving in the right direction. You see? Your son don't run when you pull up in the driveway. You know, he used to run out the back door for life. That's over with. That's making progress. You know, he listens to you now. You see? Just put more time, energy, and effort into that kind of process. You see? It's like that. And that's the only way to know it. And that's how you measure whether you're being served. Is it making you become a better human being? You see? Are you taking advantage of that which makes you a better human being or not? If you're not becoming none of that, it's because you're not sincere. You're not using what is being given to you. Are you with me? You're the kind of person that sit in a class and daydream. You don't learn nothing, you just daydream. Lost in your own thoughts. You know? Just showing up, but not. So when life gives you that test to see what did you learn about being spiritual, you fail. Right? You fail. You ain't doing the work. You're doing the pretending that you're doing the work. You're not doing the work. And life will test you, and you will fail every single time. So even when you meditate, you fall asleep. Now you've been initiated, what, 15 years or something? Something else to say about it?
Just that, through that definition, those feelings, I have to tell you that there's a big thanks for I think and I feel what you said resonates. And I really want to thank you.
You're very welcome.
Alan, I've been here for 5 years, and I hope that today gives you an indication of what this group is like. This has been a great walk. I really appreciate it.
Yes, sir. All right, that's enough for today.
No, let me get it.
Guru Brahma, Guru Vishnu, Guru Devo Maheshwara, Guru Sakshat Parabrahma, Tasmai Sri Guruve Namah. Tasmai Sri Guruve Namah. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti.
love, love.